This is Fatima Gunning and you're watching Gript Media. We're here in East Wall to speak to some of the residents of the Lighthouse Apartments who have expressed serious concerns about the placement of a direct provision centre here, right beside their apartments. What are your main concerns about the asylum centre here we see behind us?
My main concerns is that I'm a resident here. I'm from the area all my life. I'm fourth generation here in East Wall, and I'm living in the Lighthouse Apartments a number of years now. I have a 12-year-old daughter. I'm a single father, and we know nothing about any of the men who's been moved into the building. And our main concerns is basically the concerns that we have, that we don't want the building open. It's not fit for purpose. In my eyes, it's another Stardust waiting to happen. I mean, if there's a fire in the building, are they supposed to run out through here? Into our corridors out to here, there's no suitable place for them to run if there is a fire. I mean, up until these men were brought in under the cover of darkness, in the middle of the night when myself and another resident here went out and recorded it, we were able to let our kids out here during the day to be able to play out here, to run down to the shop. With all these men that's had to coming in, I'm not personally, as a single parent, going to take that chance, and I don't think any of the residents here will either.
Are there a lot of children living here at the Lighthouse Apartments?
There is a lot of children living here in the Lighthouse Apartment, and I mean, on a daily basis you see them going to school. Some of them have gone to the new school over in Marino, and the family are afraid to let their kids out and walk past the building. So it's a massive concern for the residents here in the Lighthouse Apartments.
So we have moved in the East Wall for almost 4 years ago.
And what was it like up until the migrants arrived?
It was quiet, nice residential area with many families. So we bought an apartment in a gated development with a security. It's a private, only 2 buildings and 3 offices. So we thought it's a good place to, settle in Dublin, start a family. It's close to offices, so it looked like a good up-and-coming location.
And what are your primary concerns about the arrival of the migrants?
Well, we haven't been informed, and it basically compromises everything that we bought this apartment for. The privacy, that they're overlooking our apartments 24/7, so they can see us clearly when we are at home, when we leave, how long we're out. The security as well, that they have access to our building. We share the same common areas, or same courtyard, same parking area. So there's a lot of undocumented people as well, so even the government doesn't know where they come from. So that's our concerns as well. And the big concern is also value of property. Since they moved here, like, our apartments are very difficult to sell, even if we want to move, or say we're waiting for, expecting a baby soon, and we would like to move to a bigger house in the future. So that dream basically flashed, and we are stuck in living with a direct provision center now.
Have you been given any time frame as to how long they might be here?
The contract is set to be 12 months initially, but these are rolling contracts that can be easily extended, because they brought these people without informing us, so they can easily extend this initial 12 months period. So there's no telling when exactly they will move out.
And you told me you're paying a maintenance fee for the use of the courtyard, and that courtyard is being shared by the people in the ESB centre. How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel upset, because this is us quite residential pedestrian area, and then the amount of people have doubled over the week, because there's only 150 apartments in here, and then suddenly 400 new arrivals came, and we share same area, and we're paying for our mortgages, for maintenance fee, for security, and all other fees.
So when you decided to purchase this apartment, you were of the impression that it would only be the kind of 150 people living in this area, and now suddenly there are almost 400 newcomers.
Yes, definitely, because previously it was only offices. They would work 5 days a week during the day, but then suddenly there's permanent residents, double the amount of people living in this estate. So that's not what we paid for, that was not what we expected for. So basically all the reasons why we bought this apartment has been removed, and it's a completely different area, and we'll still have to pay for it.
And your wife is in a delicate condition now with her pregnancy. Are you worried for her safety, given that these men are not, they're undocumented?
Yes, definitely there are risks. We never know what will happen, and it gives first of all a lot of stress to her, to someone who is expecting a baby, and that our privacy is compromised. And if you bring hundreds of people in the same courtyard that are not documented, they have no identity, some of them. I know not all of them, but some of them. So it definitely brings more concern about the safety of women and children, especially for myself, for our families. Because we, as I said, sharing the same spaces, we're going to say same street. And there's very little control, there's no patrolling, let's say, of guard or anything.
And have you seen the people in the centre filming in your direction, in the direction of your home?
Yes, the first arrivals when they came was only males, and their windows were not tinted at all, and we've seen people staring at our apartments, pointing their phones and filming or taking pictures, we're not sure. But we have spotted this on several occasions, and then the tinted windows can easily be removed, the tint from them, and then they still can overlook the tint itself, and can look at our apartments anytime they want.
And the tinted panels weren't there originally, is that correct?
No, they weren't there originally, and even now they don't reach the height to cover no head. So any man can easily overlook, or taller person just overlook over them, because it is not covering the whole window. It's only the lower part of the window. So we can see them sleeping now, but they can clearly see us through the window.
And can you talk about the Garda presence here?
So we have a lot of Garda presence. Before asylum seekers moved in, we would have Garda maybe once a year in this development coming for some reason. Now we have them 3-4 times per week. So because we can clearly see when they're coming, this right in front of our windows. So they started coming 2, 3, 4 times per week, and the last time they came with 2 vans, they took out evidence bags as well. There were puddles of blood in front of the entrance twice already, and within 1 month. We don't know what happened because no information is sharing with us due to data privacy. So that raises additional concerns why we are afraid, basically, for our women, our children, because we see what's happening, why so many guards is coming and what is happening there. So that raises concerns. Even the Irish Refugee Council stated the same, that it's unsafe for children and women commingle with strange adult men. So we have exactly the same concerns for us because we share exactly the same estate. It's not someone in the area, it's in our same gate. We are locked basically behind the same gate with them.
Well, I guess everything has changed. I'm living here 16 years, and the whole dynamic of the place has changed, obviously, for obvious reasons. There's quite obvious security and safety concerns. I'm a female. I don't like being in the car park anymore on my own. I run from the car to the entrance to get in as quick as I can because of a fear of, I don't know what's going to happen. You're in a basement on your own, so that's a huge issue. But I have a couple of other issues that really bother me about the whole thing. I know Pascal O'Donoghue, who is an elected representative for this area for years. He was asked this direct question: did he know that there was an apartment block so near this centre that was opened? And he categorically said no. For somebody who has represented the area to say that they didn't even know that apartment block of over 150 odd apartments wasn't here, I said that's pretty embarrassing for him and pretty disgusting from my point of view, that he didn't even know that we existed. And he claims to represent us, so I think that infuriates me. There's also the point, obviously, going back to the safety issue, we were told that there is a fire certificate. It's up until the middle of December. It's quite clear that there isn't, because the fire brigade have written out to us and told us there might be one in place for it being an office block, but there's definitely nothing as of today, as far as we know, to say that it is there's a fire certificate for what it is right now. This is a 24/7. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that these people are living in there. When it's an office block, you don't have that many people in there. Irrespective, if people come in from 7, they're gone by 5 or whatnot. It's office hours. The place closes down and it's a quiet place. But we've been told many things, and a lot of things have been, they're not true. They're false promises to us. And so there's a lot of things that they're saying and they're not following through on. Now, in fairness, there are some things that they are following through, like the frosting on the windows, but it's only half frosting. People can still see directly into them. They can see people changing clothes. They can see people sleeping. They can see people doing whatever. You know, that's not right.
And what would you want the government to do?
Well, we want guarantees that this place is going to be closed. That's what we want. The whole building itself is not fit for the purpose that it's there. You've got how many people in there? Just sub 400 people. From what we've been made aware, there's 20 showers. 20 showers in the building for 400 people. There's apparently, they've only got 2 washing machines and 2 dryers for 400 people. I mean, the living conditions there must be horrible for them. They really must be, because it is an office block. It is not a residential area. It's not a residential building. It doesn't have the facilities for the amount of people that have been moved in. Everything that we have raised as a concern, as in possible disturbances between various people, various different groups, ethnic groups living in, it has been proven in nearly every direct provision centre. All you have to do is look as far as Wicklow. You can see it down in Killarney. It's happening everywhere. We don't want that here in East Wall. We don't want that. It's not right that this is in such close proximity to our homes. It's devalued our homes. And in the event of a fire, if the proper fire regulations are in there, we know they're carrying in, like those people arrived with bucket loads of bags and suitcases and belongings. They've nowhere to store them. So where are they being stored? They're being stored in their little pods that they're living in that are apparently 2.5 metres by 2.5 metres. So along with all their bedding, along with all their belongings, they're all being stored in this small room. Every day since they've moved in, or every week at least, there's 2 to 3 ambulances outside. And that's not me making this up. It's there, visual, we can see it happening every week. So what is happening in there that warrants calling emergency services, that we're already, as a country, under extreme pressure? What warrants them that is so urgent for them to call an ambulance 2-3 times a week? There's something not right going on in there. We can see it. Everybody can see it from the area. So why can't the government see it?
Can you tell us about the continuing Garda visits here?
So the Garda visits have been continuing since day one that this building have opened. And as concerns for the residents here in the Lighthouse, we have all had our concerns about what can happen in this building, and obviously about different minorities, different ethnics, different religions, everything being put on top of one another, as this building is not suitable for habitation whatsoever for any human. So with all the guards being coming you could nearly count every day that there's a guard has to be outside for some reason or other. And we're not told about everything, but we were told about one incident in particular, and that was of 2 men from the building itself had an off-site incident in Dublin city centre of attacking an American tourist and robbing up to €5,300 worth of her stuff that was on her person. And what was on her was an actual Gucci handbag, which we were told, an iPhone, iPods and AirPods, and they were located to this building through the Find My AirPods app. That's how they actually located them to this building. And then when the guards turned up, which were like 2 Mariah, there was over 6 guards came into the facility and took out at least 6 to 8 evidence bags taken out of the rooms that these 2 men were hiding in their pods. And when the guards proceeded to go in, they actually found more than what was actually taken on that woman. So the 2 of them had absconded from the building. They haven't been seen since, so we were told by the manager of the facility. and seemingly one of them has gone to London, and that was through them finding through the AirPods that they had.
So this courtyard, as you can see, it's quite narrow between the two buildings. How do you feel about your own personal safety as a woman?
Well, personally, I am on a ground floor apartment, which is literally just located just literally behind here, and I just don't feel safe now. I actually don't feel safe. We have had a great little community in the residence itself, as well as our community outside, and I've never felt safer. But since this has happened, it's like a prison that's been put in my front garden, and it's like looking at a prison. So if we think now that it's winter, that they're not going to be let out of the building now, God knows what's going to happen now when the summer comes in. That, like, are they going to be in our vicinity? Are they going to be in the common grounds that we all share, because it is a common area? And that is one particular fact that I'm worried about, is my home at risk, because we don't know who these people are, which is understandable. I'm not saying that I know everyone in the complex, which we don't, but our security man and everyone around in the building, we all look out for each other, and we all know one another more or less, bar a few that we don't. And that's my concern at the end of the day. It's my safety, it's my home, something I felt safe in all along, and now I don't feel safe. As I said, this is up to 400 people in this building, and not knowing what's going to happen. We only have to look at Killarney to see what happened in the hotel, and this is what's destined for this building. And I'm supposed to be made feel that this is supposed to be safe, when everything else that's happening around in the country is prime example of it not being safe. So I don't understand why our government feels that I should actually have to live with this in my front garden. That's my whole thing, is this government has planted this in my front garden without any knowledge or any consultation whatsoever.
There's been, in terms of us protesting, there's been ongoing protests. Obviously you've seen that on social media. But in terms of themselves, we've had talks of sexual harassment of teenage girl in there, and that family has came out and spoke to some of the residents here and confirmed it. There has been loitering going on from some of them outside the building, drinking and begging over at the garage, begging and hanging down in the car park and using drugs is something that's going on in this complex, among other things. That's on the top of my head so far.
And the person with the teenage daughter, is that actually a resident in the direct provision centre itself?
Yeah, that's right. A family in the direct provision centre, and this was as soon as they moved. Basically, within 12 hours of them moving the families in there. First of all, they moved the males in there, as we know. As soon as they moved the families in there, within 12 hours, that was reported. And that's a man, woman and a 14-year-old, their child that's in there, who have spoke openly to the residents here and the protest committee about how they feel unsafe in there. And obviously they're allowed to say that, and it's been reported on the news when families in these centres say that they have safety concerns, but our safety concerns are ignored.
And what about the issue of the property value?
Obviously anybody who has a mortgage, has property, can feel for that. Nobody wants that to happen to them overnight. Your equity, probably your savings, your life savings, all you work hard for, just devalue straight away.
And approximately how much are the units to rent per month?
They're 2,000 give or take. That's 2,000 give or take. That hasn't changed obviously with the provision centre. The value of people's property goes down, but the rent doesn't change. When you're coming to rent this place, you have to give your references, you have to do interviews, and like anyone moving into anywhere. But as we talk about the way we want these people vetted, they have nothing like that. They just come in, nobody knows who they are.
Can you tell me some of your safety concerns as a mother of 2 young girls?
Well, firstly, the kids would normally, especially when the weather's nice, they'd be able to go downstairs and have a play. Whether it would be with their dolls or whatever, or just hanging out with her sister or going to meet some of the other neighbours' kids. And that wouldn't be very long. It could be maybe for an hour or so downstairs. You'd keep an eye on them and that, but you'd be safe. We're in a gated area. There's 24-hour security. But now, knowing that there's so many people have moved into the building beside us and they're coming in and out of the security gates and in and out of the car park, which they're not supposed to be doing, but they are, you can't be 100% sure that no one's going to be around downstairs, you know, that's just going to walk around the corner. It's, you're not saying everybody that's in that building, every man is going to be doing something. But you just don't know when people are undocumented and you haven't got a clue who anyone is. It's, you know, you're just trying to trust that everything's going to be okay down there. You know, a lot of us know each other as residents. We see each other on a regular basis. The children would know most of the residents in here, like to see and that. So, you know, you feel kind of safe with them going down. Or we did up until the building opened up as a residential unit.
And do you have concerns for the safety of the female residents in the direct provision centre?
Definitely, massive concerns. We've spoke to a good few women in that building, young women, and one young girl in particular that has a parent with her. It's not safe. They're scared to have showers. They're scared that men can just take photographs of them. Particularly when they first moved in, it was all open plans, so men and women were on the same floor. So we were told it wasn't, but they were saying no, men are able to sort of look over our partition or hold a phone over if they want to and take a photograph. So you're sort of scared to get dressed because you don't know if someone's sneaking a photograph or a video. You know, one girl in particular, when she arrived with her friend, the day they arrived, the room that they were going into, which would have had a lock on it, they were moved out of that room by a group of men and told that they were to have a different room, which that night had no lock on it. So they felt like they couldn't speak up because there were two young women. They were scared. The lock was put on the next day for them, but they had to sleep. They couldn't sleep that night. They sat up for fear of someone walking in on top of them. You know, when they go down for a shower, there was nowhere to put their fresh, dry clothes. You want to reach out to get something to put back on them, and there's men walking around. So we're told.
So according to those reports, the showering facilities are also co-ed, like they're not separated?
They were supposed to be separate, but I'm actually not sure what way they are actually now this second in there. But they're saying no, once they went into the shower units in the area, there were men walking around. I was inside the building the night that it got occupied, yeah. The night there was a few of us had actually managed to get in to have a look and have a chat with the managers and see what the story was in there and see if we could get some truth about what was happening, because it was causing hysteria outside because no one knew what was going on. So there was a few residents in here and a few locals got in to have a chat and show them basically as well what we can see. So we took them to the back of the building, pulled up the blinds in our own apartment, rang my husband, told him to turn the lights on and pull up the blinds, and everyone was shocked that you could see from all angles into our bedrooms, into my children's bed, my bed, into my sitting room.
And can you tell us about the car park situation? I understand that there was a partition placed, but can you tell us about the nature of that?
So in the car park, you come into our main car park, and to get to the Gateway 2 building that's being used as direct provision, you have to drive into our car park. And then there is a barrier, there's a gate, and they usually fob themselves in and out of that. We were told that that would be sort of cordoned off so no one could see into us and we couldn't see them, to sort of prevent any intimidation from them or people hanging around sort of making comments or anything like that, because we've seen that happening in different areas, especially in town. So we said, look, we've got kids coming in and out of the car park with their parents, and then women going up and down to the car in the evenings. You know, we just want to make sure everyone's safe. And they said, no, we're going to cordon it all off. But what's been put there, as you've seen yourself there now, is black see-through fabric. And you can see directly straight through it.
And has there been antisocial behaviour going on down there?
There's been groups of men downstairs, very loud at night, leery, making noises. There's been men coming in and out of that gate into our car park, walking around our car park grounds. They've been smoking. There's been a good few of them have residents have seen them going back in after being smoking hash in the car park. So, I mean, in all the years we've been living here since the building was set up here, so we bought it off the plans, so we've never actually had anyone down there that we've caught ever smoking drugs down there until this has happened. So, and they were saying no, it was somebody else from the car park. It wasn't, because they were seen going back in.
And how has the issue of possible devaluation of the property affected you personally?
Well, one of the big concerns, on top of the safety for the building, for the residents in there, and on top of the safety for the community and residents in here, the price of the properties is just like, it's a massive concern. We were in a position possibly where we could have sold. We were looking into maybe moving to be able to help my dad out and sort of look after him. He needs the extra support now, he's elderly. And we were sort of in the middle of trying to get all that sort of sorted. And now we're after being told, well, it's probably unsellable. With the banks not being able to lend the money that you would need to sort of build onto another property, or for us to sell here and sell his and buy a house together. The banks aren't going to help us out with that, so we would have been relying on what profit we would have made. As are so many other residents that wanted to move. You're relying on that bit of profit, and that's non-existent. So you're sort of stuck. And as I have told Pascal O'Donoghue in a meeting, where we actually went in, 3 of us residents went in and actually spoke to him. We have said to him, look, your decision has directly impacted us. You have basically made us prisoners in our own home. You've made us hostages. We cannot move. You've told us basically to shut up, put up. You're there for the foreseeable and that's it. Your life is now in the Lighthouse Apartments for good.
What, if any, promises did the ministers Pascal O'Donoghue and Roderick O'Gorman make to you at that meeting?
Well, the meeting that we spoke about the actual property prices and about our concerns as Lighthouse residents, that was just Pascal O'Donoghue. And he had said that his hands were just as much all over this as Roderick O'Gorman, the Minister for Children, who actually helped this come to pass. He said that it was all, it wasn't just Roderick O'Gorman that was to blame, and that they would do everything that they could to help the residents in the Lighthouse Apartments, to lessen the burden for us, to see what they could do to make life easier for us going forward. And we said, well, the only way that's going to happen is if you close that building as a direct provision centre. It needs to go back to what it was, which was an office block. And he just said, well, we will do what we can to see how we can maybe change its use going forward, if at all. And here we are. A few days later, the women and children arrived, and we've heard nothing since.
Can you tell us a little bit about the accusations you've been faced with while you were voicing your concerns?
It's been really upsetting, to be honest with you, because most of the people that are making these comments about us, calling us racist, far right, which is completely ludicrous, none of these people know that we exist behind that building. They see the 2 pillars, they see Gateway 2. It's the old ESB building. No one really realises that behind that, the back wall, is in our garden. We're literally looking in on top of them, they're looking in on top of us. And as you'll see now when you have a look around, they're looking into our beds. We can see into their beds. They're coming out of the fire exits into our garden, basically, which has happened multiple times. And then when the summer comes and the weather gets better, it's going to get more and more people coming out into our communal grounds, into our garden. So for people to not be aware of what we're going through and still call us racist and far right, and some of the words that they've called us I won't mention, it's really upsetting, because I can't see anybody that would actually physically be happy with this in their garden, because that's basically where it is. It's in our garden. I asked in the meeting, we asked Roderick O'Gorman and Pascal O'Donoghue. I actually asked him, I asked him a question from my children. I said, I just want to actually say a few things to you here now from my daughter. And I just said, look, you're the Minister for Children? And he said, yes, I am. And she said, well, then why, if you're the Minister for Children, have you done this to us? She'd only just started walking home from school by herself, and that freedom has been taken away. Because you can't trust now in the area. There's gangs of men walking around and hanging around outside. And you see all the things that are going on in the news. As a mother, you're super cautious. So she wanted to know, why has he done this to them? He's the Minister for Children. Why is he taking their freedom of going downstairs away? Why is he taking the freedom of her being able to go to school by herself away? Some people will say, well, that's crazy. You can't just say that because they've gone in there that's you can't send them to school by themselves. And the answers I got from him were, I'm sorry that this has happened to you. And that was it.
But it didn't just happen organically, it was obviously planned.
It was planned. Yeah, it was definitely planned. They knew this was going to happen before they moved in. They thought it was going to be early December, but it all happened very, very quickly. They got a phone call and within 24 hours the building was occupied.